Everybody thought the prospects were great. The industry was booming, the franchise was going to be awarded again. Everybody was deeply happy with the situation. The money seemed to be no problem, the budgets were still continuing to roll, and along came, in my own area, along came what we now call electronic graphics.
We were all in for a rather rude awakening when the new technology came along. One moment we were working with joiners and sellotape and celluloid, and the next moment there was a new age of electronic editing equipment.
It really was more an explosion on the talent union side for me personally, although I'm sure lots of other things were going on in the industry as well. So for me, really, it was the fact that suddenly we were trying to sell our programmes on, for example, video, and we didn't have the right to sell them on video.
It was a manual to read. Now, if you're not computer literate, reading a computer manual, I may as well have been reading Japanese. It meant absolutely nothing to me whatsoever.
The new Copyright Designs and Patents Act came in, which, as you can see here, was a huge act. In fact, I think it went from about 56 different issues to about 212. And this book in itself here alone is just the guide to it. So, as you can see, I mean, it's no easy matter, really.
Around me, I think there's a whole generation of people my age who, when television really started to change in the 70s and 80s, saw their moment and kind of went for it. So I think a lot of people older than me have quite a lot of formal training. They went on courses and the BBC taught them, or Granada taught them. People of my age, on the whole, just figured it out by working with people that they thought were talented.
Quite literally overnight, one would find that your job would change, and you may be told on a Friday that your job would be changed from the following Monday to a different role, and it happened that I was moved from there to the Industrial Relations unit.
We never dealt with outside clients, it was always in-house productions. So you become partly a client liaison man, as well as a systems engineer, and a general looking after of people, as well as getting involved in perhaps some budgeting arrangements.
And my manager said to me, "Don't worry, Andy, you and Janet will be fine this time." And I thought, ah.
I was part of a generation that seized the opportunities offered by Channel 4. And I became a researcher out of being a freelance journalist. In a very strange way, I suddenly found myself very rapidly running a company without having really planned to.
Nothing there at all prepares you for the outside world. I didn't know anybody in the BBC at all when I started off. So we opened up shop, and I soon realised I needed some extremely good accountants around me and some very good financial advice beyond that. And then we could get going with creative ideas and actually making programmes. But everything was a learning curve, absolutely everything. I suddenly realised the true cost of staples and coffee in the office.
Granada's concept now is 360-degree exploitation, which I know sounds a real cliche, but in actual fact what it means is that whenever we make a programme, we have to be able to exploit it in any possible way in any media, including merchandising.
You can't ever sit back and say, oh well, this is wizard, you know, we've got all these machines out now. Constantly, you've got to be 6 months in advance. You're constantly looking at schedules. You learn like we learned to be assistant editors. You just pick it up. But you either are prepared to work and learn, or you fall.
The Coronation Street fridge magnet, the Prime Suspect jigsaw, and all these are going on now and are proving extremely popular and are adding greatly to the brand name of Granada. And finally, the Sherlock Holmes Japanese video game.
You really need to be on the ball, unfettered by mortgages, children, and anything else that you might want to consider goes on in later life. So if you've got a single young person who can dedicate 16, 18 hours a day to their job, their learning curve, no matter how steep it is going to be possible.
The future at the moment is very uncertain. We've certainly just heard news that programmes across the board at the BBC are going to be cut by 30% over 5 years. And we had to apply for jobs over the next coming 3 months. And if the last few months in the various magazines advertising the jobs were anything to go by, there aren't many of them about.
I don't think the nature of the beast of television is security at the moment. And working on various programmes, you see that. You've got to be kind of like razor sharp, be constantly on the ball. and you see people come and go. So I think that's a big part of the traineeship. You know, you've got to constantly be thinking 2 steps ahead of everybody else, or else you're going to be past your sell-by date.
If you get something wrong, that something is probably either going to be ending up on screen, or you're going to be made very, very aware of the fact that it's been a costly error. So I think what that does is it pushes people into being safe about what they do. You don't make decisions if you can help it, because if you leave those decisions for long enough, they don't become decisions because circumstances will force you one way or the other. You don't risk because you don't want to take the chance of getting wrong. The problem is, if you don't risk, you're not likely to find out the thing that's a little bit extra special.
For the new channels with very low budgets, if you like high volume, low cost production, then I think you're going to see the need for multi-skilling across some of the traditional demarcations, between program making and craft, people who have an ability to really be flexible beyond the sort of flexibilities we've expected in the industry.
Every skill combines here. That's what's so interesting. You can't say, well, obviously graphics goes together with promo, so that's a skill combination, or production goes together with directing, and that's a skill combination. We tend to find that people can come from any area and transfer to another one if they like the sound of the job and if they get by at the interview. I really don't think that we should ever say again in television, that's your route, mate, and you've got to stick to it.
We want people who are highly self-motivated, who are capable of working on their own, and these people tend to be, I suppose in the jargon, control freaks.
Our approach has been to hire a small number of very experienced people who know how to run television in a conventional way, and we are going to hire lots of younger, less experienced people. We're in an area where we can afford to experiment. We are going to encourage experimentation. And we hope with this magical chemical mix to produce something that's slightly unusual.
The opportunities and experiences that I enjoyed are not going to be there in the new broadcasting environment. Those fortresses like Granada that employed their own staff, created a family, motivated people, they're gone, unfortunately. It was a good time, but they're gone.
We've all got to learn, especially the younger people, that think how you're going to manage your career here, and the company will try to help you. But you've got to take responsibility for putting a mosaic of skills together which you can offer to future employers, because you might not be here forever, but you want to be in the industry for a long time.
Where the television industry begins and ends is going to become increasingly blurred, and so, I mean, you're already seeing people moving at senior level into the industry from telecommunications. I think there'll be crossover with the music industry, with computer industries, as a lot of these, if you like, software industries converge.
There will be a mix, there will come a mix where it will be people with experience, those who know television as it exists at the moment, and people who are new to the industry. Now, the ones who are new to the industry obviously become more technologically friendly, if you like. At the moment, the industry's peppered with journalists in the main with their head in the sand thinking that technology is not going to happen. It is going to happen. It's here now. Get your heads out of the sand. Start learning how to work the equipment as it is now. Otherwise, you're going to be redundant in 5 years' time.